This is The Blockchain Show. The Blockchain Show is a weekly podcast that demystifies and promotes widespread adoption of cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology. You're listening to episode number 4, covering blockchain and cryptocurrency news from the week of May 15th to May 21st. Later, the co-hosts Steve Anderson and Ethan Kinderknecht will talk about Purse.io, the Auroracoin exchange in Iceland, Arcade City, and the DAO in the media. My name is Sarah, and here are the bits. Node.net recently spoke with John Demmett, the creator of Hermicity, a project aiming to send packages of Soylent by drone to hermits living in remote areas who pay via smart contract through Ethereum. According to Known's Mike Dank, every question I posed was answered with an enthusiastic, complete explanation. Welcome to assorted follow-ups and forgiving to my novice understanding of selected technologies.
The DAO is now the largest crowdfunding project to date. Mainstream media rushed to cover the record, what it means, and more importantly, introduce the concept of a DAO to their readers. Bloomberg, Yahoo, MIT Review, and Investopedia were among the outlets covering the story.
On June 2nd at 6 p.m. Central European Time, Storage Labs CEO Sean Wilkinson will announce an open beta of the Storage Network. We are pleased to make this announcement in Berlin, as it has the largest storage community in Europe, Wilkinson said.
According to the Merkle, popular Bitcoin marketplace and escrow service Purse.io has launched a new payment called Purse Pre, which allows customers to pay in Bitcoin for popular pre-order items.
Time Warner Cable News reported that decentralized ride-sharing app Arcade City is trying to fill the void for ride-sharing in Austin after Uber and Lyft left. One major Austin bar owner said Monday his sales are taking a dive. They dropped 20% in the past week alone.
TechCrunch reported that blockchain.info open-sourced Thunder Network, paving the way for instant Bitcoin transactions. The Thunder Network is an alternative network of nodes that lets you make off-chain Bitcoin payments in seconds and settle back to the Bitcoin blockchain every now and then.
Ethical hacker and Bitcoin hero Joe Ho joins Satoshi Labs as Trezor cryptographer. The white hat hacker has received praise and admiration from the Bitcoin community for sweeping and returning over 800 Bitcoins from addressees generated with a security error on blockchain.info's web wallet in order to refund users who lost their Bitcoins.
Auroracoin is back in the news after jumping into the blockchain scene with an airdrop to all Icelandic citizens. As part of the airdrop, they give each Icelandic citizen 31.8 Auroracoins. Decentral
gave users a Jax full DAO integration sneak peek on May 19th. The Jax app will allow DAO token holders to vote on proposals, view their vote history, and the current voting counts. Jax 1.0 is slated for release on May 26th.
Reuters reported that Walmart is suing Visa for resisting use of PIN-based transactions. Walmart and other U.S. retailers have pushed their payment partners to allow customers to use PINs instead of old signatures in a bid to prevent counterfeit card fraud. However, banks and payment network operators are favoring the use of chip cards verified by signatures and see no need to invest further in the more expensive PIN technology.
Exchange.coinbase is being renamed and rebranded to GDAX. The trading of Ether and digital assets on Ethereum will be enabled this summer on the exchange. Litecoin creator and Coinbase employee Charlie Lee said Litecoin is soon to follow. Coinbase.com will retain its name.
The Economist reported that medical trials could be better with Bitcoin. Blockchain technology could improve the reliability of medical trials. The completely tamper-proof blockchain could provide a way to check that results have not been fudged. For links to all the articles referenced in the bits, visit the show notes at theblockchainshow.com.
There's a few different groups out there that really propelled Bitcoin and started, through their ideation, really were the driving force behind it. Anarcho-capitalists, I don't know if you're familiar with that movement, kind of like libertarians, but a little further along the freedom spectrum.
Further
And
along the
then-
freedom spectrum.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, it depends on which way, but I didn't know there was anything farther than a libertarian.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Anarcho-capitalist would be like no government at all. Where a libertarian has.
Some
I don't know
government.
if there are some government. Obviously they're libertarians. So I don't know exactly which. Maybe national defense or something. I could probably look it up.
All we need are Soylent packages, and I'm happy. Should probably try some Soylent so I don't keep talking about it like it's a good thing.
There's a lot of engineering went into those things.
It probably tastes terrible.
We're talking about Hermes City for any listener who hasn't been to that website or seen episode 2.
We're talking about why did a company name it Soylent, though, for real?
Is there a lot of soy?
I just can't
afraid.
get Charlton Heston out of my mind. And I think a lot of people have to have that as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ones too. So other products that are out there that are like that, like Slim Fast. So maybe
Yes, but
I'll
they're not.
create a
They're not
competing-
called Soylent.
What's
Right.
what's Charlton Heston's thing?
It was like Soylent Green. I think that was even the name of the movie. And at the end of the movie, the climax. Sorry to ruin it for anyone. Charlton
Spoiler
Heston,
alert.
yeah, in his ever so dramatic way, screams, "It's people!" Because Soylent Green is made of people.
Okay, that sounds familiar now. It reminds me of Fight Club a little bit when they make soap out of people's fat.
Yeah. I'm kind of picturing more like Stella, but yes.
I was reminded today of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
So was
If you-
I.
If you take it like that, Cameron and Ferris are really like Tyler Durden.
Very clever.
They're not real. I haven't
So
seen
like-
One of them.
I haven't seen Ferris
One of
Bueller
them.
in a long time.
Yeah, they're never on this. They're never on the screen at the same time with somebody else. It's always one or the other.
Is that so?
I think it is.
That's very funny. That's very, very clever. I was
Wow,
thinking of it
wow.
because apparently at Starbucks somebody ordered a drink and they named it Bueller and then they just walked out.
Oh, really? It's an expensive joke to make.
Right.
What was the coffee?
Hopefully just a drip.
That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe they really wanted. They got a frappuccino or something. They paid $5 to make that joke.
They're not even there to witness it.
So you're attempting to get this Aussie teen on the show.
Yeah, we definitely need to get some people. Yeah, I think the show is missing interviewers. So if you're listening and you want to come on the show,
It'll be awesome.
yeah, you'll have a good time.
I got to say though, seriously, I can't. To me, it seems. I mean, every time I think about it, I'm like, wow, this is a brilliant idea. Not to mention, I don't know. I kick it over the fact that you got the blockchain show. Like, you got the name. That's amazing. That's how embryonic this is. This great idea, this great huge concept, is that new.
There's quite a few other shows. They just don't have the name Blockchain Show.
Well, they're fools.
Yeah, the blockchain was a kind of, in my opinion, just a great rebranding. Initially, it was Bitcoin, so everything was "Let's Talk Bitcoin" or the Bitcoin Show or the Bitcoinist or other various Bitcoin related names.
How long has Bitcoin been around?
It was first introduced in 2008.
What?
Yeah, so that's when Satoshi Nakamoto posted on a forum that he was going to do this, and everybody kind of ignored him. And then it was like in 2009 when he actually started it, but it wasn't until 2010 when somebody else, I believe it was Hal Finney at the time, actually joined him. So those, it wasn't until 2010 that there were 2 people who knew what Bitcoin was or paid any attention to it. Everybody just thought, it's as when most people hear about it the first time, even, cypherpunks at the time ignored it. Thought that there's no possible way it could work. There had been, implementations in the past that didn't solve the problems that Bitcoin solved. They were close and they did a lot of the things, but without having the double spend problem fixed. They weren't, that good.
What's the double spend problem?
Well, with a digital asset, you can, transfer it to somebody, and nothing really prevents you from then transferring that same property to somebody else. So what, Bitcoin solved was the way to prevent double spends from happening through a mechanism of distributed consensus.
So just to be clear, since I'm a layman, there might be laymen listening. There is no Bitcoin without the blockchain, right? The blockchain is sort of like the web of connected people, correct? That things like the Bitcoin can use to function. Am I right?
Well, you're right. But Bitcoin, so there's Bitcoin, the currency, which is the token that people can spend. And there's Bitcoin, the protocol, so at a level, you have a blockchain. And the blockchain, what did you say was in the blockchain?
I've already forgot. A network of people, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's really like the peer-to-peer network. The blockchain is actually the physical, not physical, but the actual representation of all the different transactions that happen and get verified and then put into blocks. So like a big grocery bag of all the transactions get put into a block and then chained. And that's why it's called a blockchain. I'm
picturing it in my head like the images I saw on the descriptive videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
Looks sort of like the concept of the internet,
So for most people, there's going to be really no use for a blockchain without a corresponding token. Part of the benefit of having, a token is when you verify these transactions, you can get paid, and the protocol or the blockchain creates what's called a coin-based transaction, where it creates new tokens. Right now, at least for the next, I think 60 days or so, Bitcoin still pays 25 tokens to the miner who mines a block. That happens every 10 minutes. Ethereum pays 5 Ether every 10 to 20 seconds. And so, I forget where I was going with this.
You were basically explaining, you're doing your best to explain to me so I could wrap my mind around. I was asking you, if they're basically if Bitcoin or whatever currency uses the blockchain.
Yeah, Bitcoin without a blockchain or a blockchain without a Bitcoin, it's kind of, it's difficult to really describe because I suppose it's possible. You could have there's a company called Eris, ERIS, that is really, building private blockchains where you would have just a way to have, a consensus mechanism within an organization. It may not be the best use of a blockchain. I'm not really sure, because at that point it's just a database.
Yeah, what if somebody wants to, what if we're talking about real estate or a home or something else? I mean, what if it's not necessarily just a currency, but trading other valuable goods?
It's limitless. The amount of things that blockchains will be used for in the future, I think it has no end. There's not business category that exists today that won't be affected in some way, shape, or form by this technology. Finding some way to link actual physical assets with a smart property on the blockchain is something that will happen sooner rather than later, I imagine. Maybe not in the developed world as quickly, but in the underdeveloped world where people have a title to a piece of land, which is very precarious. At any point, a dictator could come into power and be like, nope, says, this book that I have says that my friends own that land and you don't. And there's really no recourse in the third world for that type of thing. Where we're at, that doesn't really happen in that way. We have
sure
things like
does.
eminent domain.
We just did a show on it.
An eminent domain?
Yeah.
Or on what?
On Maxwell Street.
Yeah. Hey, it's not quite the same. You still get paid for it. But tell me about what happened in your show with the eminent domain.
Oh, it's just that it was not taken over by free market. It was, the city of Chicago declared it a slum and said that, hey, we're taking this. And I guess that they probably did get paid something, not fair market value, certainly, but it was not their choice.
Yeah, so we even in our developed market, we still have some way for governments to just take private property away from people, but it's not quite to the extent that can happen in other places.
I'm sure you have much to talk about on this show tonight, but I have one of the questions I wonder is, what dastardly deeds, I set this up really well, don't I? What dastardly deeds have
amazing alliteration.
The big bad banks done so far to squash the blockchain? Because certainly they're not going to like that.
The big bad banks, up until a little while ago, had kind of ignored it. They didn't really see it as a threat, kind of thought it as play money, but it really feels like the big bad banks have learned a lesson from watching the music industry and the publishing industry, and they're trying to implement the lessons of the blockchain. They're kind of going about it, and I'm not so sure if it's the best way, but they're trying to build like private blockchains. So they get paid a lot of money by using these outdated systems. So when you make a transaction using like the Swift network, it takes like 3 days for it to settle, and there's all these intermediary parties, and each party makes a certain amount of percentage of that transaction as a fee. And so there's so many people, and what they want to do is they want to use the blockchain to make it more efficient while they still charge you a bunch of fees. So they're trying really hard to do that, and maybe they'll succeed. There's, as of right now, people can use the blockchain to kind of be their own bank, but as of right now, most people don't really want to be their own bank. They still want to use these third-party apps like Coinbase or Circle, where you can, have somebody else manage your private keys.
Yeah, I saw something cool on purse.io. That whole 15% off Amazon really got my attention.
Yeah, I have used purse.io, and we got a good story to tell about a recent thing that happened with purse.io, and we'll have a link in our show notes where you can log into. You can create an account at purse.io and receive 0.01 Bitcoin if you purchase $50. If you transact with $50 or more. Nice. So it's like a free $5, and my wife just got a transaction done where we ordered some baby food, baby formula from Purse. Saved a nice chunk of money, and it arrived, and she got a message on Facebook from a police officer in Texas.
What?
The
Saying
plot thickens.
saying, "Do you know who ordered this and why it was shipped to you?" The way Purse works is you create a wish list a wish list on Amazon, and then you share that wish list with the Purse.io community, and people on Purse who have Amazon cards or Amazon money that they want to trade for Bitcoin will then buy those things for you. They will buy your list and ship it to you, or Amazon will ship it to you.
Okay.
And so that's how you end up saving money, because there's often a lot of people who want to have gift cards. I think they say a big number of people from who are selling their gift cards are from Amazon Turk, which Amazon Turk is something that requires that pays people to do human intelligence tasks or hits. So for each hit, there's a certain dollar figure, and this is all through Amazon. So there'd be like a picture of a price tag, and you have to say what the number is on it or something like that. Anyways, so these people end up getting a bunch of they're paid with Amazon gift cards, and so a big source of Purse.io purchasers are people who are Amazon Turk workers and just have an abundance of Amazon gift cards. And there's also people who just want Bitcoin, and paying a little bit of premium between 10 and 15 or 20% makes sense for some people. And then of course there are apparently people who have stolen login information for somebody's Amazon account and then use it to purchase stuff on Purse.
Aha, like baby food?
Like baby food. And then, collect the Bitcoin, and they don't really lose anything. So that's kind of, something like, I don't know, knowing that there's some slim chance of that happening, and, nothing went wrong, the cops said, "Oh, okay, I understand. I use some of those apps to save money too, because there's all sorts of different ways to save money on the internet." And what will probably happen is Amazon will write it off, and so nothing will come of it.
Did you actually lose any money, or were they just concerned that might have happened?
Did who lose money?
Did you and your wife?
No. We got it's up until we get the products. It's in like a escrow, I guess, or so they don't get the Bitcoin until you receive the product. And then Purse can reverse that transaction if you don't receive the product. So the only person that's out is basically Amazon, because Amazon will write it off as a charge-off. So somebody stole this lady in Texas's information, bought our stuff, received the Bitcoin for it. We got the formula, and the person who was robbed will probably be reimbursed by Amazon.
Was the person who was robbed the person selling the formula?
No.
Like a seller?
Probably not. No. So the seller also got their money too.
Okay. So they were just the people who owned the Amazon cards. Am I thinking?
Who is?
The people in Texas. I'm trying to figure this out.
She was the lady who got her purse stolen, right? And so
she got her Amazon account hacked.
Oh.
Okay.
Right. So.
Huh.
Right. There's nothing physical involved here, right?
No. Just somebody hacked into somebody's Amazon account who had, money on Amazon. And so they used that money to buy our baby formula, and they received Bitcoin for that. The problem is that the person whose Amazon account it was didn't authorize that, so they didn't receive any Bitcoin. Right? The scammer got the Bitcoin. The person whose account was used, and you know what? The scammer may actually be the person. Maybe they decided, oh, I'll just go ahead and at a certain point, lie and try to get it charged back. I don't really know.
That's my scheming move. I was just twirling my mustache when you said that.
I don't know if you could hear it. It sounds like someone's crinkling cellophane in another room. That was Ethan listening to you at the same time twisting his mustache like an evil plot.
That'd be genius if that lady really was kind of the scammer as well.
Yeah, I mean, for a few $100, it seems like an awful lot of trouble to file a police report But
yeah, unless she has several thousands of these schemes right now. I'm just kidding. That's
right.
I don't know what's weirdest about this story: the fact that the police are using Facebook, or just the abstract nature of.
They're not she got hacked. How did you know she got hacked? Right, because she must have been missing her Amazon money, right? Or
right,
Amazon money. Would one say that?
Yes, Amazon gift card or whatever, or Amazon. When you get an Amazon gift card, you can go to the website, plug in the numbers, and now you have a balance that you can use.
Right. And then it was gone, and she's like,
and then it was
what?
Gone. Yeah, she probably got a notification that
you've been hacked.
Right. Your baby formula has arrived, and then at that point you think she probably should have checked it out then, but I don't really know. So what do you think? Would you use a product like this where there's a chance that somebody someplace is getting robbed?
Oh yeah, me personally, you're asking me. I absolutely. My desire to gravitate away from the big bad banks, that one's actually kind of hard to say, is just that great that I would bother to try to wrap my mind around this. And this is not easy for me. This is not my forte. This is not my natural place. I usually avoid this stuff like the plague. But I have a strong sense of social justice and a strong desire to change the world. And so because of that, I would definitely love to. I almost feel sort of thrilled to know that I'm doing it in a more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not direct, but it's definitely interesting. And I love the idea of a new currency.
I would totally do it, but that's because I know that Amazon's big enough to take these hits, and as long as no one's really getting too affected by it, because I would imagine that Amazon's going to hopefully work the bugs out eventually. I mean, I was having that thought last week. I wonder how many times does Amazon lose packages or have some scams happen,
or crack into your baby food and open them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
where's Leary?
It's like the seal was broken and there was new tape put over it, like clear tape. And I don't know if that's just because the seller was throwing together different. I don't know. I'm sketched out, and I'm not buying baby food anymore from Amazon sellers that aren't.
You might not be the only one.
We had no trouble with our baby formula or baby food.
Well, you had a little bit of trouble down there in Texas.
That's right. Somebody else had trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, if any of our listeners want to give it a try, use our link. You'll save, you get a free $5 when you spend $50 or more.
I'm going to check it out.
And that'll help support the show, too.
Hey!
Download the app from the link and then just set up a wish list, right?
Yeah, you don't even need to download it. Are you doing it from your phone or something?
Not necessarily.
I would be.
Yeah, you do everything.
Yeah, I do not like my computer. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Can you edit that part out?
Nope. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I avoid my computer if I can.
Yeah, and
because it doesn't work.
It's something that sounds much more difficult than it actually is. But there are a few steps to it that you kind of have to do. You go to your Amazon account, create a wish list with the items that you want purchased. make the wish list public, and I think you have to click like make sure that don't ruin the surprise is unchecked. And Purse will tell you if the wish list isn't set up right most of the time. Once you have that wish list done, copy the URL of that wish list. Go to the Purse site and then paste the URL into there. I mean, should I be going through this whole thing or just kind of like follow the
I think
the
it's
steps
helpful
at
for
Purse?
anyone listening too.
Yes, please. Because you can rewind this. In my case,
Okay.
rewind it like 4 or 5 times and play it again.
And then it'll Purse will tell you if you've done anything wrong at that point. If you get your actual wish list URL in there, so. And then choose pay, or if you have a Coinbase account, you can pay with Coinbase. I already have Bitcoin, so what I always do is I would buy with whatever I buy, I immediately repurchase the Bitcoin and then a little bit more. So if I'm buying something for $200, I'll buy $250 worth of Bitcoin or something like that. So that I immediately replace all the Bitcoin I spent.
Should I start getting Bitcoin? I mean, can I do this without having any Bitcoin? Or is that part of the whole thing? Is that the whole point?
The whole point is you have to use Bitcoin.
I gotta buy some Bitcoin.
The whole point is just sock it to him.
The whole point is to save 15%.
You
While sucking it to them.
well, you can use like Coinbase or Circle. I have used Coinbase in the past.
Cool. Coinbase it is.
Okay, so and I'll also put a link on our site. So if you sign up for Coinbase, you get $10 if you purchase $100 or more of Bitcoin.
Dude.
Might as well, people.
Mm-hmm.
Because from what I hear from Jared and Ron Paul, the
That's
dollar's
right.
going to shit.
That's right.
Who's Jared?
He was the, I don't know, the news correspondent for the Ron Paul network.
The bad actor.
He was a horrible actor. It was kind of painful to sit through it, but it was interesting at the same time.
It was worth it. It ultimately ended up being like an advertisement. However, still full of things I would consider to be truthy.
Yeah, a lot of people give Ron Paul shit, and I totally see it.
I don't know enough to know what they say. What do they say about Ron Paul?
I won't get into that. I personally kind of liked him last election time.
Yeah, he seems like a guy who just doesn't really care about pissing off the establishment and says what he really thinks.
He predicted a lot of the things that happened in the financial world back in the 80s. There's C-SPAN videos of him. But I don't know. It was cool. He was talking about gold and other times in history that the government has taken money from the people. It's not quite as like conspiratorial as say Alex Jones, but he is also a Texan, Ron Paul. So it's got that flavor of fuck the government. Texans are very proud.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were we talking about though?
Jared.
Oh, Jared. I don't remember.
It was just, it's very scripted. And so, like, whenever Ron Paul Jared would have a comically scripted question, and then his response would be, well, Jared, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But, Ron Paul, how could this be true? I mean, it just seems impossible. He must have said that like 14 times.
Well, Jared.
Impossible.
That's not Ron Paul. Ron Paul's got more of a deal.
Yeah. It's got a little Texas drawl. But I digress.
He was the first politician to accept
Really?
Bitcoin as a
Who?
donation.
Ron Paul. That's badass.
For real? You
Ron Paul?
just whipped that up?
I think so.
How'd you figure that out so fast?
Well, I knew
Wow.
it. I think he was. Maybe first U.S. politician.
What is it, Switzerland, where they're allowing it now?
Iceland.
Oh, I bet Iceland. There seem to be some kind of utopia.
I was reading about Auroracoin. That is hard for me to say. Auroracoin.
Auroracoin.
Aurora.
Aurora is hard.
Auroracoin.
Auroracoin.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Auroracoin. Auroracoin is kind of a weird coin that like jumped on the scene a few years ago, and I think it was up there in market cap, maybe like the fourth or fifth largest market cap for a brief period of time. And one of the things that Auroracoin promised was to give every Icelandic citizen, I think it was 31.8 Auroracoin. All they had to do was prove that they had a Icelandic ID or whatever it was, ID number. And recently, I guess they reported that they were having 3 milestones, that they're doing some sort of advertising campaign, that they did a hard fork, and that now you can change your Icelandic currency into Auroracoin, because there's now a Icelandic exchange that they created. I don't really know what to make of Auroracoin. It's such a weird coin.
Those Icelanders are kind of weird people.
They are, but you gotta love them.
Yeah, the good kind of weird.
They're the good kind of weird because most of them really believe in elves, and I'm all about that. But what's weird about this Auroracoin?
Well, so Auroracoin, if you are an Icelandic citizen, you get 31.8 Auroracoin. Like, you can just get it.
Where's the weird part?
It's free.
That's pretty cool. But what's weird about it?
Could you imagine if Bitcoin was like that? So every Icelandic citizen gets 31.8 Bitcoin.
That'll never happen in America.
Well, what is...
Right.
That's sort of abstract to me.
Yeah. It's just like that was the promotion of the creation of this coin. It was kind of like what they called an airdrop, where they created this coin, sold like half of them, and then the other half they decided just to give to the population of Iceland. That was its, selling point. Is like, I'm going to give away half of my value to any citizen of Iceland, to all the citizens of Iceland.
Makes a lot of sense.
I mean, it would make sense if they were themselves Icelanders who created it, which I'm assuming they are.
I don't even think that they were.
Okay, that is random.
One of them was?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean, if you want people to start something, this is a thing that's valuable. Here, take it.
Give it to Iceland. They're responsible.
Use it. Maybe you'll like it.
Yeah, they chose Iceland because of maybe their
Their elven gnome policies?
their yes, their elven and gnome policies.
They got some good karma up there.
They do. They're no nonsense. They don't mess around.
That's incredible. First they get their debt forgiven, and then they get free Auroracoin. I mean, how valuable is Auroracoin? I've never heard about it until this week.
As far as I know, let's take a look at Auroracoin to USD. Oh. All right, so let's do that 31.8 Auroracoin. And we will... It is 31.8 Auroracoin. It's worth $6.22 USD.
Hey, there you go. We'll take care of tax or shipping. I don't know what their tax is like there. What else did I see? I saw that they have a exchange there now. Auroracoin has the first cryptocurrency exchange in Iceland.
Right. So I can use your... Well, I don't know what
Krona?
Iceland called... Oh, yeah, the krona. You can trade in your useless kronas for very, very awesome Auroracoin.
They will
Get your
also
free...
stop construction on any site if they anger the gnomes. That's a fact. You can look it up. Or the elves.
Elves? How did it go from
Dead
Norse
serious.
gods to elves?
Well, because the elves are there and they don't want to piss them off.
Oh, Didn't they believe that when you had sleep paralysis, it was like little goblins climbing up on your chest trying to steal your soul?
I don't know about goblins, but there's definitely the persistent pressure of some demon on your chest. That's pretty consistent. If you've ever had sleep paralysis, you'll know what they're talking about.
The first time is very, very freaky.
Yeah. Anytime, actually.
Yeah. Go Iceland.
Did you hear anything about this Arcade City?
No, I heard something about a taxi.
Yeah, so one of the problems I have is a lot of the people, a lot of the characters, a lot of the companies, a lot of the ideas in the Bitcoin space are scams.
Of course.
Oh,
There's just, yeah, it's kind of sad, but it's just a fact. There are, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of cryptocurrencies in existence, and 90% of them have to be like useless, I would imagine. And maybe less than that, but a lot of them are just pure scams. And when I have something that I'm not really sure whether it's a scam or not, like Arcade City is a supposedly decentralized peer-to-peer like Uber. But when I look further into it, the creator, I think his name is Christopher Richard or something. What the hell is his name? Christopher David. Christopher David does have a little bit of a checkered past where he changed his name and was a politician, libertarian politician, and was accused of not fully paying his supporters or some debts that he had for his campaign. So he has a troubled past, and additionally, he says it's decentralized, but there's really no proof that it actually is. It's kind of vaporware at this point, where he may be able to build this real great decentralized app. But anyways, it almost doesn't matter at this point, because at some junction in the future, there will be a decentralized Uber or Lyft service where there isn't some company taking 10 to 20% right off the top of every exchange. But anyway, so the city of Austin decided that they didn't want Uber and they didn't want Lyft. It's kind of weird how for hundreds of years taxi cabs have been in existence, and they kind of lobby the cities and states to enforce their monopoly on it, because people are incapable of choosing their own drivers. They have to be forced to only accept rides from people who have dirty, smelly, disgusting cars. It's a joke.
Yeah.
I'm talking about taxi cabs.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about Uber.
No, have you been in Uber? They're fantastic.
No, I never have. And quite frankly, I've always enjoyed my ride in a cab. I was thinking you were talking about all I ever hear about Uber is pretty negative stuff. It's like, Satan's telling him
really?
to kill you.
The taxi cab propaganda.
Wow.
I guess they got to me.
They got to you, huh?
Yeah. My own personal experience is that I love cabs. I always love talking to cab drivers. I love, the glass. I love the whole thing.
Great in London. Have you been in those boxes?
I would kill for that. I'm old school. I would love the classic old timey kind of a thing. The more old timey it is, if it's like a minivan, I'll be like, I'll wait for the next guy who's a real cab.
Now they're mostly Priuses.
Right. No thanks.
Yeah.
I know what a Prius is.
I like the idea of this Arcade City, though, if it's indeed real.
What's the arcade part?
That's just what they named it.
You mean there's no arcade involved? There's no city,
No.
There's no arcade, there's no games, there's no fun?
No, I don't know why he picked that name.
False advertising.
That's right.
Good. That's kind of cruel.
And so Austin outlawed Uber and Lyft and these type of ride sharing services, and turns out that the local bar economy lost a lot of revenue. I imagine because it's just too expensive.
There's a lot of drunkards with DUIs.
Well, don't they have cabs?
A little more expensive.
The cabs are more expensive than Uber?
I think so.
Right. And the cabs are maybe twice as much as Uber.
Oh.
And they're less cozy. They're less comfortable as well.
Wow.
In my opinion, anyways.
So you've ridden around in Uber plenty of times and been quite comfortable. You've never been killed?
I don't think anybody's been killed in Uber.
It's when they're off duty, they do the killing.
Oh,
Yeah,
they meet him in the cab, and then when they clock off, they kill them after.
They kill
So technically it's
non-Uber passengers.
I don't know. I think Satan told him to kill those Uber passengers.
There's been one instance. I think maybe there was two, but there's, it was kind of like a horrible, tragic story where an Uber driver was working a shift. He picked up a passenger and dropped the passenger off, and then decided to go on a killing spree.
Oh my God.
After he dropped off the passenger, killed a lot of people. And then decided he's going to go back to work, and then went back to work. None of the Uber passengers were killed.
Man.
Isn't that nuts?
That is interesting. That's different than the one I heard, though. The guy who I heard, I mean, this could be completely fiction, but he was saying that Uber itself was like the devil telling him what to do.
I would hate to be the guy who got an Uber right after the killing spree and start up small talk like that. How do you? I don't know. Either way, this is creeping me out.
I think somebody. I think I know somebody who was in the cab with him that day and said that he was acting very, very erratic.
What?
Yeah.
Man, how hard is it to get a job at Uber?
Where was this? Where was this? In Wisconsin?
Michigan, I think. It's actually pretty tough.
So you're pro Uber over there then, huh?
Well, no.
I always kind of envisioned it like kind of Craigslist. Like, Isn't it kind of Craigslist-y? I'm totally... this is complete contempt prior to investigation. I haven't put myself out there. I have investigated Craigslist, not positive results.
Okay. When was the last time you ordered a cab?
Oh, a long time ago. So it was in Chicago, so it was a long time ago.
And tell me how you got the cab.
I stuck my hand up in the air and I took the first one that came near me.
White privilege.
Okay.
Sorry.
I pulled my skirt up, showed a little leg.
That's a whole nother privilege.
Right?
Well, what if you could just look on an app and it'll tell you like where the nearest Uber driver is and how long it'll take for them to get there?
I'd never do that. I'd stick my hand up in the air.
You can't do that in LA though.
No, yeah, that's never going to happen
downtown.
in LA. I mean, are there cabs in LA? Does that happen in LA?
I've called a cab before in LA.
My God, that's crazy.
They came and picked me up.
Wow.
But everyone this was like 4 years ago. They were telling me to use Uber. I'm like, what the fuck is Uber? They're like, no, dude, it's cheaper. And they told me about it. I was like, nah, I'll probably get some like weird, creepy guy.
That's my first thought.
And that's exactly what I got when I called the taxi.
Okay, Exhibit A.
Where are these non-weird, creepy taxi drivers that everybody gets?
Oh, I love cab
I don't
drivers.
Get them.
I talk to them all the time. They're like my buds. I'm instant friends with cab drivers.
All they do is like talk to their family in a language I don't understand.
No, they talk to me in a language I barely understand enough. I almost always have the best conversations with cab drivers.
I have almost always had somebody who was talking on the phone to a relative in a different in a foreign language.
They've gone downhill.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
You have just gotten lucky. Sometimes that's not always the case, but a lot of times that is the case. I don't know. I don't know where the love for the cab is.
Oh, I love them. Love my cab.
Love taxi cabs. You're going. I think you'd find a lot of the same drivers at these Uber places, so you'll still be able to chat with them. The weird part about it is a lot of the times an Uber driver is, when it first started off, anyways, a lot of them were like aspiring tech gurus, so they were always like having their own.
Thought you were going to say aspiring cab drivers.
No. They can make more money as an Uber driver than a cab driver.
Well, I don't get this. They're cheaper.
Yes.
Huh.
Well, because the cab company has to spend so much money on lobbying and like going through ridiculous government regulations that, you know, they have to do, where an Uber driver just, you know, has to do the Uber regulations and, you know,
car insurance.
That's it. They don't have to
gas
car insurance. They don't have to lobby the government to protect their monopoly.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about this Arcade City is what it takes out the Uber regulation, so it just puts the people in contact with the drivers right away, or how does that work?
Which I think is so much better. I think, you know, Uber, brand new, you know, in the you know, normal scheme of things, but in the age of the internet, they're like a dinosaur now, and they're, you know, the old way of doing things, where I hate to say it because I don't think Arcade City is 100% on the up and up, and I just don't know. I don't know one way or the other. I'm skeptical, but I'd love to be proven wrong. But if it's not Arcade City, it'll be something. Something will take that industry, which has been really revolutionized by Uber and Lyft, and these other companies where, you know, ride sharing has really shown, you know, how bad the taxi industry actually is. In my opinion, I think, you know, people have different tastes, I suppose. if you love taxis, I'm sorry.
Is there really a monopoly? That sounds crazy to me. Because if there were,
Absolutely.
they'd all be yellow checker. And I see these guys have got this like green bull crap, and I reluctantly get in those cars.
In the like local area, they're probably all owned by the same person or whatever. Yeah, I mean, you can do a little bit of research on it. I don't know exactly, but it's, you know, it is definitely not a free market in you know, the way we think about it.
Interesting.
Just reminds me of like gypsy cabs in New York. You ever hear those? There's a big problem like in the 80s, early 90s of like illegal taxi cabs that kind of work for, it would be kind of be like Uber before the internet. People just driving people with their car. They call them gypsy cabs. But there was a lot of murders in New York around.
You see? Always comes right
yeah,
back
what's
to
up
that.
with the murders?
Well, because what's the standard on Uber? What do you, I mean, like, how are you accountable? I guess, you know, you could still be crazy and be a cab driver, but for some reason in my head, I've got it in my head that if you're a cab driver, you're somehow legit. If you're an Uber driver, you're like a Craigslist sketchy sketch bag.
I guess that's another thing too. Like, Craigslist has been doing all sorts of like exchanges, and nobody's been murdered on it. But that's in our head. There must be some sort of fear of these places.
I don't know. My experience is pretty gross. Even just a friend of mine, I thought it was pretty funny. She posted a picture of her cute little baby, like a fountain, and she said, "Gonna meet somebody up on a Craigslist thing. Tried to find the least murdery spot available."
Oh, fuck that. I would never do a Craigslist meetup. Have you ever read those just when you're bored?
No, not like, hey, no, like for whatever, exchanging a good.
Okay.
She's
That's
happily
different.
married and not interested
like,
in that sort of
strictly
stuff.
platonic.
Yes. Like
sort of
maybe a dog or something gross like that. Furniture. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. We'll see how this pans out.
Yeah.
I hope it's real. Could be cool.
And, you know, there will be some sort of peer-to-peer network for, you know, the driver on demand service. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So
You got the blockchain backing you up.
What other fascinating things have happened in the Bitcoin world? I mean, the blockchain world this week?
We've almost made the entire show without talking about what's sweeping the news media.
Schnikes.
Everybody is in love with the DAO.
The DAO.
The DAO is all over mainstream media. You know, Yahoo wrote a story about it. The Economist wrote a story about it. It is huge now. It's up to $160 million USD or something like that.
Whoa, did that surpass the video game fundraiser that we talked about?
Yes, it did. The video game fundraiser has been going on for like 3 years.
It better be a good video game.
Yeah, $153 million in the DAO. And nobody knows what the DAO is yet. That's the crazy thing about it.
That's amazing.
Nobody knows.
Smart people know. or
People who listen to this show know.
Yeah.
That's true. I've been singing the praises of the DAO since it first went live, 2 weeks ago. But it's amazing to me that $153 million worth of Ether has been sent to this contract with the idea of crowdfunding Internet of Things / blockchain technology companies. It's in a democratic way.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That is a lot of money. No wonder there's so much attention.
It is.
It's like a Schwarzenegger movie.
It was like, bam, huh?
It's just, and everybody has an opinion on it. Everybody, like, this is the stupidest idea ever. And other people are like, this is the craziest thing. You got to have an opinion on it. What's your opinion on it?
I don't have enough information to have one yet.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to save our financial shitty corporate rigged system, or at least give us an alternative and really bring the blockchain technology
I'm all about that.
to people's attention.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that there's going to be some sort of restructuring of the way, we organize ourselves as a society to do business. The corporation is kind of an artifact of an era of the Industrial Revolution era, and I think it's going to change. I'm a little bit worried that there will be a brief period of time when these computer systems do take away these jobs, where people at the middle to lower end of the economic structure kind of lose out for a little while before things redistribute through these type of social organizations. There's like something called the Colony, which is just a peer-to-peer organization. So it'd be interesting to see how what flat everybody equal organizations will replace the corporation, where you have a top-down structure. There's somebody at the top and everybody has to follow their rules, and we can organize and be self-sufficient, self-organizing. How that's really going to change things.
Yeah, are those jobs that you're talking about that will be replaced, like the people who just move money, like on Wall Street, they just literally just move money, and that's how they make their living?
I don't really feel bad for those people.
Me neither.
I mean, it's crazy because a lot of these people just created this Rube Goldberg machine that it's incredibly complex, and the only people who really understand it truly are on the inside of it, and there's no reason why it has to be that complicated, but it's so complicated that nobody can understand it, so they can charge whatever ridiculous fees they want. But I think until the economy adjusts, I think it's very possible that a lot of jobs will be lost to the automation of a lot of systems.
Did something happen this week to boost this popularity and wealth of the DAO?
A few things happened this week. It's just getting a lot of media coverage, and everybody is talking about it. Everybody wants to be, fear of missing out. A lot of the people who knew about the DAO, came from Bitcoin, where they, spent very little amount of money in 2010 and made a ton of money. And then they invested that into Ethereum and made a little bit of money, and then they made a lot of money after that. Not quite as much as the early people in Bitcoin. I think they think the DAO is the next way to invest a little bit of money and possibly make, a good amount of money by investing in the right Internet of Things and blockchain technology companies. Also, because what happens is, you have to have Ether to submit to the DAO, and the price of Ether, because there's more demand for it, is now rising. So it went from like $9 to $14 over the past couple weeks.
Wow, that's
which is
quick.
a pretty big jump.
Yeah. Let's buy some Ether.
I like the name
Ethereum or Ether?
Ether.
Yeah.
Hardly even know her.
Ah!
Okay.
Works every time.
Named after the what do they call it?
The ether?
Yeah, there's like a word that's always nebulous, or
It's amorphous.
Yeah, that's.
It's kind of like the DAO. The DAO Beijing. It cannot be named. That which cannot be named.
I like the DAO.
The DAO.
DAO, gracias.
You and I are the only people who have ever said the DAO.
Darn it.
You could start something new.
Yeah. You might as well. I mean, the DAO, the DAO.
You got to have you got to know what you're talking about. There's a few different DAOs.
So are you going to make this like a weekly thing where you join us on the blockchain show?
I don't think you probably want my elvish input on your smart guy show all the time.
Steve's the only smart guy.
I'll just be like the resident goofball. He's asked me to do this a few times, and I thought, well, I don't know if you can always edit me out.
If Steve's okay with it, I like having you on.
Look, at any time you want to be on the show, it's always, great to have another voice on the show.
That's kind of you. Thank you. I can definitely be your layman. For those other laymen out there who need somebody to say, whoa, what are you talking about? But
yeah, I feel as if I did a pretty bad job explaining things in layman's terms today, and that's normally what I'm pretty good at. I think that is kind of the main, not the main, but a part of the show that I think other shows don't really have, where we really try to make it, simple for people to understand. It doesn't have to be difficult.
it ought not to be.
Technology. It ought
Yeah, it
not
ought to be accessible to everyone. And I'm one of the everyone's.
Yes.
One of the less technically savvy everyone's.
It doesn't matter,
Still, I don't think you want me on the show every week, but I'm happy that you're kind enough to say that.
You can come back next week, and then you can quit.
Thanks. All right.
Cool.